Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please turn off all cell phones and pagers. Extinguish all smoking materials. Sit up straight and try not to text message your neighbor because you just might miss something. Buckle your seatbelts because this might be a bumpy ride. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just experienced Tool for Living, ex Voto, the last lecture by Billy Mayer and friends. We hope that you've enjoyed the ride. Please check your pockets to make sure nothing has fallen out during the performance. We invite you to stay for questions and discussion afterwards. And to all of you, remember to keep the devil way down in the hole.
When you're walking in the garden, you better watch your back. Where to beg your pardon, stay on the narrow track. Just ignore temptation, 'cause hands are cold. Yeah, you help me keep the devil way down the hole. He got the fire and the fury at his command. Yeah, but don't you worry, hold on to Jesus' hand. He keep you safe from Satan when the thunder rolls. Yeah, you help me keep the devil way down the hole. Way down the hole. Way down the hole. Way down in the hole. Way down the hole. Yeah, you help me keep the devil way down the hole. Go back to hell. Well, all the angels sang about Jesus' mighty sword. Yeah, they wrap you with their wings, keep you close to the Lord. Yes, ignore temptation, 'cause his hands are cold. Yeah, you help me keep the devil way down the hole. Way down the hole. Way down the hole. Way down in the hole. Way down the hole. Yeah, you help me keep the devil way down the hole.
Just if anybody has any questions. I have a question. I need a microphone.
Hello. Again, I'll take questions and do my best to answer them. Fire away. Or if you want us to play, I can't play any more music with that guitar.
Is that your dog?
That's my dog. That's Apollo. Yeah. Yeah. He's excellent, isn't he? Apollo, do you want to start? Apollo is those of you who don't know, he is a reassigned leader dog from the blind school over in Rochester Hills. He made made it through a year of socializing with me, which I don't know what that meant, but then he went and spent 7 months in training at the leader dog school for the blind, and then they called me up and said, "You want him back?" So But now, hey, he's a stage performer. He's, you know, and then the other thing is, Elvis, eat your heart out. I mean, we have guitar hero Apollo right over there. Guitar shorty. Meet the Sculpture 2 class. I can tell you one thing about the process of how we got to this point tonight was extremely organic. As if you picked up a program and read anything about what we tried to do here, I really didn't know what to say after Molly asked me to do this lecture. I said, well, yeah, sure, why not? And then we got like 5 minutes out the door, and I thought, what am I going to talk about? You know, because this is what I show people, you know, how to use, and that, you know, outside of a critique situation, which is a very intimate kind of thing. And I thought, how can I do that in front of a lot of people? And because I also do sculpture, that's my main field of study, and I don't do time-based things. I'm not, even though I played the guitar tonight, I'm not a musician. These guys are back here, Mike Van Leddy and Rick Slack, they're talking like eighth notes and measures, and I'm thinking, what? You know, I like the guitar as an object more than anything, and so then I thought I'd also make static objects. I make sculpture that doesn't move, doesn't go anywhere, doesn't encompass a lot of time, and all of a sudden I'm doing a time-based project, and it was. I think I'll sleep well tonight, believe me. But anybody else? Some questions? I'll take some. Thank you. And Apollo's the one with stage fright, by the way. Look at this. He's getting close to the edge. Very brave, Apollo. Well, thank you all for coming. If there are no... Oh, you have a question? Well, the question was, besides aesthetics, what was the point of my destroying the guitar? I'm fairly interested in the idea that there's destruction and creativity just like there's creativity and destruction. It's sometimes a mirror image of itself. And there was also the two big influences in my life. I grew up in the 60s, and Jimi Hendrix was amazing. And if you've ever seen him destroying a Fender Stratocaster and lighting on fire, it was sort of an amazing performance to watch. I don't think I came anywhere close to it, by the way, but also I was also in my art school training. I became aware of the composer artist John Cage, who used a lot of chance elements in his compositions and in his work. And I was trying to pay homage, I think, to both of those men who were pretty influential in my life. So, and then I was, trying to be a sculptor. And Rick said, hey, Billy, take it, go back and get your thumb out there and look at it, like you're actually doing a piece of sculpture, which I started to think I was. So, how did it sound? Pretty girly? The tortured guitar? John.
30 years at Hope, what does that mean to you?
Wow. Wow! Yeah, what does that mean? The way my retirement fund is sitting, I'm going to be here for another 30. That's what that means. One thing I know I've grown, I've changed, and I continue to grow. And as a matter of fact, what was interesting about this, anybody who's over 50, try something different. It really stretches those dendrites in your head quite a bit. And of course, also working with extremely creative people. And it gave me the opportunity to work with Eric Alberg and John Erskine, all of these students, and the professional musicians, Mike Van Leddy and Rick Slakta. We all, it was just and it suddenly came together, except for the fact that the bird didn't drop out of the ceiling. That was. And Kristen Underhill was actually the one that kind of got this thing going for me, because I've been, yeah, get out of here, girl. Hey. Kristen is our departmental manager, and I had come in one day and I was complaining about the fact that nobody knew who the Banana Man was. And she, 5 minutes later, shows up with a film on YouTube, and it's what you just saw. This guy, A. Robbins, who when I saw him in probably the late 50s, early 60s, Robbins was dead, but there was a guy who owned, his agent owned the act, this vaudeville act. And so some other guy named Sam Levine took it over. And he started introducing, like if you go on YouTube, The Banana Man, with A. Robbins, down there'll be one with Captain Kangaroo. And you see the footage of Captain Kangaroo, and he's got bananas, I mean hundreds of them coming out of his coat. It's just astonishing. And I remember seeing that as a kid and thinking that was very bizarre. It was, wasn't it? I mean, for 1939, that was pretty creative stuff. So Kristen was the one that said, here, because up until that point I was sort of stymied as to what I was going to do. So, yep, fire away. Oh, I told you not to ask questions, Jesse.
How much collaboration did you do with your students?
How much collaboration did I do with the students? A lot. Though it was also, I've never had a class like this after 30 years of teaching. These 8 women became an organism unto themselves. It was like, all of a sudden one would get hungry and the rest of them were hungry. Or there would be this sort of gelling of ideas. Early on in the project, and early on in the semester, I can't remember what the situation was. Somebody said, oh, what about? And I said, oh, just a minute, I'll go back to my studio and get it. I wasn't gone a minute and a half, maybe 2. I came back and there was a sea change. The whole group had completely changed direction for what we were doing. And it was going towards this. And then when they started launching into, oh, we're going to make these big dresses, we're not going to make just one, we're going to make a bunch. And I said, do you want to be part of this? And they said, oh, sure. So then the ball started to, it wasn't rolling anymore, it was starting to fly. So, is that the Buddha box? Yeah. Nice, I like that. That droning in the background, it's not feedback. It's not my guitar anymore. Not that one. So there was a lot of collaboration, and it was also really wonderful collaboration. It's also kind of stretched me to this other point where I no longer feel like I have to be, alone in my studio to get creative work done. You can actually, enjoy other people around you and bounce ideas around. So, yes.
Where did you go to art school?
Art school, I went to the University of Minnesota. Whoa. And yeah, the real U of M, by the way. Oh, and don't throw anything at me. Here's an apple. And then I did my graduate work at Penn State University, and actually my graduate work was done in ceramics. So this is what teaching at a liberal arts college does. Brings you to this point. Carrie. The connection to the cross? What does that mean?
Yeah,
Why a cross? Well, without bringing Dr. Freud into this too deeply, that cross belonged to my father, who's no longer alive. I grew up Catholic, and I believe I found that in the bottom of a box that he had. And I know he had a nun back when he was in grade school, because he only went through 8th grade. But I believe that cross must have belonged to a nun who gave it to him, because it's very old. And there are several things that happened in this performance that reflect back on that moment when you're 10 years old or so, and you're watching Captain Kangaroo and you see the Banana Man, and your dad buys you a BB gun, and you shoot a bird for the first time, and when the bird is dead, some guys I find go on and keep killing things, and then there are others of us who don't do that. And I started finding out too that there were a lot of men that I would talk to and say, yeah, I had a BB gun, shot a bird, and boy, it was hard, but then I kept on hunting, and that's fine. I have great respect for hunters. And then there's that other group of men who just said I never did it again, and I was one of the latter. And My dad also, when I put out the garage window, shooting not at a bird, but at a tin can or something, he took the BB gun and stuck it in the bench vise. As a matter of fact, that bench vise. Anybody have a couch for me right now? So we started, as the class, I started laying all this out in front of him, saying, look at, this is what I'm doing. This is about my life. And particularly that first 10 years of my life. And I remember real clearly, what has he got now? Peanuts, okay, that's good. I remember years ago we had a writer who taught here, Pinckney Benedict, and I remember listening to him talk about the creative process. And he said in a lecture one time that he thought that the first 10 years of his life was where he gleaned all of the writing, or all of the ideas for the writing that he was doing as an adult. And I kind of set off things in my head as to where my ideas come from and how I generate things. And so we went, not just in a lot of static visual metaphors in my other sculpture pieces. This was an opportunity to kind of act it out, I suppose. And also that's my 1964 Fender Stratocaster that I've had since not that one. That was the cheap magic trick of, destroy the red guitar, then he's got another red guitar. It's like, is that the same one? A lot of cheap magic acts here. About a month. We've rehearsed. Apollo is, they're going to start a Guitar Hero program for him. Cart, go ahead. Another question? Professionally, it may be like, yeah. We'll see. Is the provost here? Yes. Burn that tape, Phil. I'm here to take any more if you have a question, or go ahead.
What's the most influential place you've lived?
Well, I have to say Michigan right now, since I've been here for 30 years. But what? Texas. No. Yeah, my wife lives in Texas, and we have a former Texan up here who's standing his ground. This is as far as I get to Texas right here. But yeah, I think actually the split between Michigan and Texas is kind of interesting because I experienced Texas culture, and then I experienced this culture here, which are very different people. Texas is a place where, let me put it this way, if California is a place where they took much and made little of it, Texas is a place where they've taken little and made much of it. And it's bigger and it's better and it's more and it's stinkier, or it's, yeah, we're mean and we're meaner than everybody else, or whatever the issue is. We get, our football teams are nastier, or whatever it is. They have a sense of place and a sense of pride. So that's a very important question, actually. Like what most influential places. And travel, I've done a lot of traveling in Asia. Though I don't know that shows up here. Yes, Kurt.
What was your last dream?
My last dream. I did I tell you about this one? I had one the other night that was so marvelous. I was walking through a gallery, and it was tile floor, white walls, and I think there were some pictures on the wall, and I was by myself, and there was a female lion, as tall as I was, walking upright and speaking to me with a French accent. I can't make that up right here on the spot. Ask them. Didn't I say something? Did I talk to you guys? No? Oh.
Who designed the dresses?
They did. Yes. This is Gretchen Keeler over here on your right. Heather Garrett, the Darth camera. The Phoenix is Ashley Eby, of course. Sammy Shank. Back here we have Rebecca Bush. Hannah Bush, I always do that. But her twin sister is over here. This is Rebecca, this is Hannah. This is Eden Collins and Christine Hostetler. Brett.
How would you grade your performance tonight? Did you fat finger any songs?
Yes, I did. Yeah, the last one I was bumbling all over it. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't. I was thinking, well, kind of watch the movie backwards. How did it sound? Was it okay? Or, well, John and Eric. They've got the thing under control here. And then playing with professional musicians is also helpful. They covered for me. So. Michelle, this is it. This is the last. This is the last one. We're done. Yeah, that was all we learned. That was all we learned. Is there anything else?
How long did it take to put together the whole process?
Molly Smith asked me in November, right before Thanksgiving, and I'd never heard of Randy Pausch. And then I saw on YouTube his lecture, and I went, oh boy, where to go? And so I started writing a lot. I keep a journal, a sketchbook, and I started scribbling ideas down, and they went everywhere. I mean, it really went everywhere. At one point, I was just going to stand here for 10 minutes and not say anything. It's going to be like, I get it, the last lecture, he's mute, So I pushed it from one extreme to another. And then this started to come together a little bit at the beginning of the semester when I asked the students, I usually give my Sculpture 2 class, something that they have to work with as a group. They have to do something where they're all participating in a community project. So my friend Rick Weiss had sold us this aluminum hemisphere. Actually, it was a whole sphere. It's 5 feet in diameter. It's some kind of a light testing device. So I said to the students, I said, here, do something with it. They wanted to fill it with water. And I thought this would be like a 5 million pound ice sculpture that would, kill someone. So we got off of that track, and it started to move into other things. And then it naturally, I let them take it, and they took it into, we're going to make a dress. And then it became, no, we can make more than one. But that process really went through a lot of morphing as it happened. And so pretty much from the beginning of the semester till 2 hours ago, we were duct taping and hot gluing and safety pinning, and it got a little intense towards the end, as it always does. But each one of these women arrived at these pieces. I said, if this is supposed to be about me, I want this to be about you, because you're sort of, part of me and I'm part of you in this class. We're all kind of interacting. And I think, I don't know, for me it's really, it's like several times that I've seen them sort of process. We started that process last week, and I thought it was pretty moving. I mean, that music and their sort of solemn composure as they come out. It's kind of a moving moment. Yeah.
What was the music?
It's in the program. It's a guy named Johan Johansson. His father was a computer technician in Iceland, but back in the 60s when the first IBM business computer came out, and that computer was one of these mechanical ones, with pinch rollers and wheels and cards and a computer the size of this room that'll do what your watch does today. And his father was a tinker. He kind of experimented with things, and he put a stereo receiver next to the computer and found that the computer generated tones. And so the tones that you hear in that piece originally came, I think, from the computer that lead that piece in and then lead it out. So the title of the work, the entire album is called, it's Johan Johansson, the IBM 1401, A User's Manual. That's the title of the record. Yes?
Do any of the students want to say how this experience was for them?
I was just going to ask them. Anybody want to speak? What did you Darth Camera? Does anybody want to say something? What is that? So,
Good, yeah.
Russia?
Nope.
Rebecca, anything to say? Christine?
Sure.
Christine's going to ask Christine a question. Here, you can grab on it.
Well, I mean, am I just saying like how the experience
Yeah.
was? I don't know. As Billy said, it was really neat as a collaboration thing. Even though we all ended up going our own unique ways with our dresses when we decided to do that. I've never worked this closely with a class, and we've all gotten to be tight now, and it's really cool, and we run around and sing and dance and do whatever, and it's just really cool to have a class where we can go and really inspire one another and help one another, and learn from each other. And of course, with you, you've been really, no, you've been great. You've been great. Billy's been really cool and really patient with all of us and our flakiness and just goading us on to get the job done and everything, and is a great professor, as anyone here.
It was. Well, what Christine said was, I most of the time I was just getting out of the way, and I grew up with 4 sisters. I didn't have any brothers, so I kind of knew when to get out of the way, and let it just happen because that was something that was really apparent right away. Like I said, that was the part that let this happen, was that they became such a well-oiled little machine that was able to kind of work through ideas, and good ideas. These pieces, a couple of times I just stand there in amazement as they would process by and watch how beautiful these forms became, all using one unit, construction form, and how they infused their personalities and their aesthetics and their ideas into these pieces. Nick, did you have a question?
How do you determine when a project is done?
My intuition. My intuition tells me. And I don't know how that works. Jeff? I don't have a tip jar. Absolutely, right here. Make it in my pocket. Is it a trick coin, Jeff? Really? It says Pabst Blue Ribbon on it right here. Yes.
See you later.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes. Question is, what are the most important things I've learned in my life that has kept me young in my creativity? Playing. It was funny, I just heard Jeremy Irons, the actor, talking about that, because what's the film is called Impressionism, that he's in with a woman named Jerry Allen, is that her name? Or Janet Allen. And they were on National Public Radio, and he was talking about how, as he's getting older and older, the thing that he has to keep doing is playing and pushing. And, whether that be the guitar or grinding up guitars. I think that's it. I think the secret is playing. Oh, time to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Thank you.